now, the Sector Education and Training Authorities. So as the Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, continues to come under fire over suggestions that she may have misled Parliament over an independent panel that supposedly advised her to select board members for SETAs, questions are also being raised about whether we even need them, or at least about their effectiveness. With over 20 billion rand in annual funding, they were designed to bridge the gap between education and the labour market. But how well have they done? Just look at the youth unemployment figures. Our two guests will speak to the two issues. Our first one is Professor Malegapuru Makgoba, who has called the minister a disgrace and who must resign, whilst Professor William Gumede believes the SETAs themselves are irredeemable and unfit for purpose in a modern economy. Let's start with Prof. Makgoba. Very good morning to you. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. You've called this minister a disgrace.
Yes, thank you, Bongani, and my fellow listeners of 702. Indeed, I have called her a disgrace because in simple English, a disgrace means a loss of reputation or respect as a result of dishonorable actions. And I think there are a number of those actions that I have articulated in my piece that I think point to that description of a disgrace.
We know, of course, her boss, the president, is not exactly Speedy Gonzalez when it comes to firing ministers accused of wrongdoing. Why would he make an exception here?
Well, I think there are a couple of points that I want to make. First of all, Bongani, the government of national unity was elected on the basis that ministers will be acting in the interest of the nation and not in the interest of the party. And this minister has acted in the interest of her party rather than in the interest of the nation. Secondly, the behavior that is prescribed for all of us in the public is that we face consequences whenever we have had misdemeanors. But cabinet ministers engage in all sorts of misdemeanors and they never face any consequences. They just carry on, and we are setting up a culture in the country where it will become virtually impossible to discipline any minister who actually is deviant from really the protocols of what a cabinet minister should be in the Westminster kind of a government type of leadership.
Prof, we've seen this for over 30 years. I mean, I can take you back to Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma in the Mandela cabinet and the Sarafina 2 scandal. Of late, there's Minister of Human Settlements, Thembi Simelane, implicated heavily in the VBS matter. She was Justice Minister, for goodness sake, and all the president did was just reshuffled them. Again, I ask you, why would he take action here?
Well, because I think there comes a stage where I think some of us, I think with a bit of conscience, we should keep on repeating what should be done in order to set, I think, the culture of politics in our country correct, but also to bring what the president often talks about, ethical leadership. Now, you can't have an ethical leadership if you don't practice or don't observe ethics. And this minister has not observed any ethics. And, you know, the president will be judged in future by the friends that he keeps.
My colleague Tsidi Madia spoke to Advocate Terry Mudau last week, who said that he'd been approached to be part of this advisory panel. He did not avail himself. Minister Nkabane still went ahead and said that, in fact, he chaired this panel when the man said clearly he had not availed himself to do so. And in fact said, I wrote to the minister saying, remove my name from this thing. We've also seen other reports that say, quite apart from the saga around the board appointments, that there was allegations of corruption within SETA, and it's now alleged the minister sat on damning allegations. This is more serious than just, chewing gum before parliamentarians.
Well, I was going to come to that. I listened to Advocate Terry Mutau's interview with Tsidi 3 times because I just couldn't believe what he said and what the minister has done. Now, you can lie to Parliament, and obviously it is a criminal offense.
It is.
But to besmirch a senior advocate in our country with that lie, it's even more serious. I know Advocate Mutau said he won't do anything, but really, this goes beyond lying. To besmirch somebody who tells you that I'm not a member of your committee, but you go and tell the committee that he is the chair. Now, who would have reported to you? Where would the minutes be? Who would have signed these minutes if you are the chair and you are an advocate in the country who is respectable like Terry Mutau? I mean, this is just it just goes on. I agree with you, Bongani, that several ministers have had many misdemeanors, but there comes a point where we must stop this culture of just operating with impunity and not reminding the president that he has the prerogative to appoint these people, but he also has the prerogative to fire them. He doesn't have to go through all this rigmarole that they want to go through. All he has to do is to call the minister and say, did you do what we have all seen as adults in public view? And make the right decision.
Will that happen is the question. Will that happen? Yeah. Appreciate your time, Professor Malegapuru Makgoba, calling this minister a disgrace, arguing she ought to be fired. But even if she is removed, can the SETA system be salvaged under new leadership, or are these problems too entrenched? That brings us to our next guest, Professor William Gumede, who was a professor of practice at the Wits School of Governance. A very good morning to you, as always. You're arguing this whole thing is a mess. It's not just been mismanaged, but you're saying actually it's unfit for purpose. But we look at the high youth unemployment figures. We need something. Professor Gumede?
Good morning, and thank you for having me, and good morning to the listeners. Yes, I mean, we're sitting as a country in an economic emergency now, and also an unemployment emergency. What we need to do now as quickly as possible is we need to reset some of the institutions that are responsible for getting growth going and for getting skills going, because a big part of our unemployment problem, and particularly youth unemployment, is a skills problem. And also a big part of our lack of economic growth is a skills issue. Now, here we've got the SETA system that we've been allocating money to get the right kind of global skills and domestic skills, and it's not doing the job. So what we now have to do really is to say, should we keep this, or should we try something totally different? And it's not only the SETAs. We have to look at all of our institutions, because we are in an economic emergency, and so we have to really look at the things. But just as Professor Makgoba was saying, is accountability is sitting at all of our things, and incompetence. The two. So, we can have all of the best institutions by name, all of the best policies by name, but if we have lack of accountability, if we've got incompetence and corruption, it won't take us anywhere.
Prof, was this a Band-Aid to begin with? I mean, we're talking about these high youth unemployment numbers, and very few of us are looking at the system that produces these young people that the market cannot employ. So was the SETA a Band-Aid to begin with and wasn't addressing the original sin?
I think maybe, at a time, so we're going back here now, 96 to 98, and started 98. There's all good intentions, but the economy didn't go the way we thought it would be going. Now, the first thing is what is really important and what is missing at the SETAs. Now, business and companies have a much better sense of the skill set that the economy needs. Now, the SETAs right now, do not have the capacity, they don't have the staff that are competent, neither do they have the governance, your board and your executive, to really even understand the skills needs of the country and the skills needs of the world. And of course, it's not just the SETAs. We also have to relook at our universities, what they offer, and then our vocational education institutions, because at the same time in 1998, that period when the SETAs were set up, we also had the teachers' colleges, the technical colleges, the agricultural colleges, the artisans, all of those were closed down, and the shift were moved towards the SETAs. And I think that was certainly one of the biggest mistakes the post-apartheid government made. So really we have to relook, because we allocate this money to do a certain thing that we need, and it is not happening. So if we want to keep it, there's a couple of things we need to do. The first thing is we absolutely need to depoliticize it, make it absolutely certain that no one is appointed there who are politically connected. And we have to hand it over to business to run, like in places like Japan and those sort of countries, or Germany, where they have effective skills transfers. And then we have to look specifically what kind of skills do we need to get the economy going. And we know we need technical skills, we need technology skills, we need vocational skills, artisan, those type of skills. And then we have to really focus on that. But I think take it to business organizations and the business associations if we want to keep it going.
All right, 20 billion rand a year. I wonder if we are getting bang for our buck. Professor William Gumede there from Wits University School of Governance.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions.
Your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.